Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, in the second case heard by a special Paris court set up for cases linked to the Rwandan 1994 genocide, 2 former mayors from the East African country face crimes against humanity charges. Also, Zambian police arrest 4 suspects in connection to a string of grisly ritual murders that sparked xenophobic riots in Lusaka in April. And a lack of cash may trip up Ghanaian athletes' dash towards the Rio Olympics. Qualifiers are coming up, and funding hurdles for the less popular sports like swimming may be tough to overcome. Well, first, 2 former Rwandan mayors were in the dock in Paris on Tuesday in the second trial for crimes against humanity before a special court set up here for suspects linked to the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Over 800,000 people were killed in 100 days of bloodshed. Octavian Ganzi and Tito Barahira are alleged to have played a direct role in the massacre of hundreds of Tutsis who'd taken refuge in a church in the town of Kabaranda. The accused deny the charges. The trial is set to last 8 weeks. Our correspondent has spoken to some of the survivors of the slaughter that's landed Genzi and Barahira in court.
Kabarondo in eastern Rwanda. Maite has survived the 1994 genocide. 22 years on, she accuses the 2 local mayors of facilitating the massacre of hundreds of Tutsis.
Octavian Genzi went around the village to pick up all the Tutsis in his truck. He gathered them inside the church. Hutu fighters stormed the building later on, but the people inside fought back and were stronger, so Genzi called the police for backup.
This is the church where 3,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus gathered on the 13th of April 1994. The militiamen who attacked them were members of the Interahamwe group, a government-backed militia made up of Hutu nationalists. Witnesses and survivors say the men fired rockets and grenades at the church, leaving only a few hundred survivors. Marie-Thérèse insists that the other mayor, Tito Barahira, also played a key role.
After the attack, people came around with machetes and killed almost everyone. Tito Barahira oversaw everything.
Moments after the attack, survivors sought refuge in this house just a few hundred meters away. Jacqueline was one of them. She says Octavian Genzi came after them 3 days later.
They made us step out of the house. I saw Genzi surrounded by armed men. They took us to Kibongo, but instead of handing us over to the military, they attacked us with machetes.
Tito Barahira and Octavian Genzi deny the charges against them, but Kabarondo survivors hope they will finally start to heal 22 years after the genocide.
That report by our correspondents. Well, Zambian police have arrested 4 suspects in connection to a string of grisly murders and dismemberments that sparked xenophobic riots in Lusaka last month. 2 soldiers, an Air Force employee and a traditional doctor have been charged with 7 counts of murder. The victims reportedly had ears, hearts and genitals removed, and suspicions of ritual killings led to several Rwandan-run businesses being targeted by angry crowds. Well, Alexander Mutale joins us now from the Zambian capital. Alexander, so what is the significance of the arrests on Tuesday?
Well, the significance of the arrests are twofold. Firstly, the arrests show government's commitment to maintain law and order and to make sure that people that were perpetrating violence against innocent foreigners, such as the Rwandese, are brought to book. And then secondly, the arrests will help to bring peace and unity as well as cooperation among the Zambians, that's the local people, and the foreigners, because now people will understand that it's actually not the foreigners that were responsible for the ritual murders that have been happening in the capital, since the beginning of the year.
So, talking about the foreigners that were being targeted, we saw them particularly fall foul of the public anger and fear that was caused by the killings. Has that died down?
Yes, surely it has died down. Firstly, after the Zambian president ordered about 440 soldiers on the streets of Lusaka to patrol to ensure that those people that were committing these acts of violence stopped and that law and order was brought back to the streets of the capital. So the xenophobic violence broke out on the 18th and 19th, and like I said, after the intervention of the soldiers, it stopped. And now, after these arrests, it only, cements that calmness that has returned to the capital of Lusaka, which disturbed the peace. And also threatened Zambia's, investment reputation, because Zambia depends so much on foreign investment, and foreigners, before coming, they want to make sure they are going to a country that's peaceful. So this, these arrests, as well as the peace that was restored by the soldiers, will also help not only to maintain the peace and order and unity among locals and foreigners, but also a good, selling point for investment.
Thanks very much. Alexander Mitale there from Lusaka. Now, several bodies have been found in central Mozambique, not far from where the discovery of a mass grave containing 120 bodies was reported last month. The area has seen recent clashes between security forces and rebels from the Renamo group. The latest remains appear to be of victims killed more than 45 days ago. Ben Barnier tells us more.
Bodies decomposing on the ground. Police confirmed that the remains of 13 people have been found in the Makossa district in central Mozambique, a region where in recent months Renamo rebels have been clashing with government forces.
Did you see the mass grave?
Yes, I did. It's near my field. Since then, I haven't gone back to my field.
Late April, farmers in the region said they found another mass grave containing over 100 bodies. Locals say they were victims of government troops. Security forces prevented journalists from visiting the site where the remains were supposedly found. The presence of mass graves in the region is a thorny issue. Some here refuse to talk on camera. Others claim that reports have been exaggerated.
I have never heard of any mass grave here. And that's because people tell the truth. If local leaders say there is nothing, then it means there is nothing.
Since the beginning of the year, 83 summary executions have been reported to the Human Rights League of Mozambique, prompting fears of an all-out conflict more than 20 years after the end of the civil war.
Around 50 victims have lost their lives in several landslides caused by intense downpours across Rwanda. The worst affected district is Gakenke in the north, where at least 34 died as a result of this year's particularly deadly rainy season. Meanwhile, at least 15 people have been killed in landslides in neighbouring Uganda. Bridges have been washed away and hundreds of homes destroyed in the heavy rains that triggered the slippages. South Africa's Judicial Service Commission says that a proposal's been put forward to the Minister of Justice that the judge, in the midst of accusations of racism, be sent on special leave. An official complaint has been lodged against Judge Mabel Jansen, and there have been calls for her removal from the bench after she said that rape is part of black culture. Jansen made the comments in an online conversation with a social activist who reposted the remarks. She said that they were taken out of context. Well, finally, we head to Ghana, where the country's top athletes are preparing for qualifiers ahead of this year's Olympics. Ghana hasn't won an Olympic medal since 1992, and it's hoped that Rio will be a chance to improve on that statistic. But there are concerns that funding hurdles, especially for the country's less popular sports, may trip up the hopes of potential winners. Katerina Vitozzi has more.
Take your mark.
This is Ophelia Swain, Ghana's fastest female swimmer. She's 20 and a butterfly and freestyle specialist. Currently, she's training hard. She needs to shave just a second off her time in order to qualify for this year's Olympics.
It'll be a dream come true, because there's not everybody that gets to go to the Olympics. I want to be the first woman to go for the Olympics representing Ghana for swimming.
But Swain's Olympic dream may be over before it's even started. She's trying to raise money to get herself ready for the qualifier in Romania later this month. Ghana's Olympic Committee will pay for her flight, but that's about it. Getting money for even the basics is up to her and her coach.
So that we can get more equipment to train, so that I can train her very much. Yeah, in terms of water, fins, hand paddle, goggles, swim costumes.
Ghana Swimming Federation admits there is a problem. State funding for the sport is minimal. To take an entire swim team to the All-African Games last year, the government gave them €1,000. In comparison, national football team players each get €4,000 a game.
The funding is not there for us. We are a sport that is growing, and we are growing against bigger sports like football, and therefore those other big known sports in the country get a bigger chunk of the money that comes from government.
The Federation says currently swimmers have to find around 90% of funding themselves, meaning those who dream of Rio might not get much further than a pool in Ghana.
Well, we wish them all the very best of luck. That is, though, we're going to have to leave it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and please do so again if you can. Take care.